Here are the top stories for today, February 25, 2020. President Duterte urges Filipinos to do away with petty political differences in celebration of this year's EDSA Revolution anniversary. Speaker Peter Cayetano says the House vows to hold a clearer and more organized hearing on the franchise of ABS-CBN. 9 towns in Isabela are placed on lockdown to prevent the spread of African swine fever. And Filipinos in Singapore are told to be careful following its first confirmed case of COVID-19. Good day, I'm William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. President Rodrigo Duterte on Tuesday joined the entire nation in commemorating the 34th anniversary of the EDSA People Power Revolution. In his message, Duterte enjoined Filipinos to value the liberty the country currently enjoys since the end of the Marcos regime. He also urged Filipinos to not allow petty political differences to have an adverse impact on the country's democracy. Duterte once again skipped this year's EDSA celebration in Manila. Instead of attending an EDSA-related event, Duterte led the Presidential Security Group's change of command ceremony at the PSG Grandstand in Manila. Last year, he skipped the EDSA anniversary rites and instead attended the First National Assembly of the Liga ng mga Barangay sa Pilipinas at the SMX Convention Center in Pasay City. Malacanang on Monday dismissed claims that higher excise taxes on new vehicles prompted automobile maker Honda Cars Philippines to shut down its manufacturing operations in Laguna. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo said the increase in excise taxes is justified as taxes are regularly increased anyway. He said the company's closure could mean that it was losing in terms of quality compared to other automobile makers.
Sinasabi nila, ano ba sabi nila? Centered on cost, competitiveness of local operations. Parang natatalo sila sa labanan ng quality. Parang mas mura pa pag nag-import sila. Yan ang pinaka-reason nila.
Meanwhile, Albay Representative Joey Salceda said comprehensive legislation is necessary to ensure adequate social safety nets for unemployment and labor displacement in the country. In an aid memoir addressed to House Speaker Peter Cayetano, Salcedo said he would introduce a measure proposing a comprehensive framework for an employment safety net, including unemployment insurance, upskilling and retooling, career shift assistance, entrepreneurial development, and financial literacy and other services. Salceda also called for the immediate passage of the Comprehensive Education Reform Agenda, as well as other upskilling measures to ensure that the country is not the first option for elimination when companies cut costs on personnel and research. Some 400 workers of Honda Cars Philippines in Laguna will be given assistance by the Labor Department. Honda Cars officials confirmed to Labor Secretary Silvestre Bello that the tight global competition prompted them to close its manufacturing plant in the Philippines. Honda sales manager, who happens to be a lawyer, said the issue of the closure is non-negotiable because it's not the Honda Cars Philippines that made the decision, but Honda Japan. Bello said the government will help the affected workers through the Tulong Pangkabuhayan sa Ating Displaced and Disadvantaged Workers, or TUPAD. He said the government could also provide them with financial assistance to start a business. Bello said he asked Honda to give the workers additional benefits. An investigation is underway following the arrest of an alleged relative of Brigadier General Vicente Danao during an anti-illegal gambling operation in Tagaytay City last week. Danao, who is currently the chief of Calabarzon Regional Police, denied that he has relatives engaged in illegal activities, although he received information that someone introduced himself as his relative and asked for 5 million pesos grease money from illegal gambling operators. He said he is ready to face any probe to clear his name. Gamboa reiterated his warning all regional directors to start relieving chiefs of police and provincial directors who will not stop illegal gambling in all forms. PNP Chief Archie Gamboa is calling for the cancellation of fake pension claimants on their list, and Marikina initiates an awareness program on fire prevention for kids. More on these from Lade Cabagani.
Armed Forces of the Philippine Chief of Staff, General Filemon Santos Jr. received an honorary Special Forces badge for presiding over the opening of 3 Special Operations courses in Fort Magsaysay, Nueva Ecija on Monday. The Special Forces badge, shaped like a shield, symbolizes the duty of every Special Forces trooper to protect the people and liberate the oppressed. Santos said he will wear the badge with pride and told the students to do their best in their respective courses. Meanwhile, PNP Chief Archie Gamboa on Monday said he will call for the cancellation of dependents' pension of retired and deceased policemen should they fail to report deaths of the primary beneficiary and other essential information needed in the pension system. Last week, Gamboa ordered a nationwide accounting of the list of PNP pensioners in response to the report of the Commission on Audit that the PNP Retirement and Benefits Administration Services is possibly being duped by some claimants. Based on the policy, the wife of the deceased retirees and their children below 18 years old are listed as beneficiaries of the pension. The pension is only terminated if the wife or husband of the deceased policeman would remarry or would die, and their children reach the age of 18. In other news, the city government of Marikina on Monday signed a memorandum of understanding with the Bureau of Fire Protection (NCR) and the Department of Education on the conduct of fire safety road shows for children. This aims to raise the level of awareness of children on disaster response, especially on fire incidents. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Lade Cabagani.
Still to come, Speaker Alan Peter Cayetano says the House vows to hold a clearer and more organized hearing on the franchise of ABS-CBN. 9 towns in Isabela are placed on lockdown to prevent the spread of African swine fever. More on these when the PNA Newsroom continues.
The Department of Health disclosed today that the repatriation and quarantine plan approved by the Interagency Task Force on Emerging Infectious Diseases for the overseas Filipinos aboard the MV Diamond Princess cruise ship. To date, 59 out of the 538 overseas Filipinos from the cruise ship had been confirmed with COVID-19. 2 out of the confirmed cases have recovered since isolation and admission. Around 400 plus overseas Filipinos have signified interest in being repatriated. The repatriation of our kababayans is of utmost priority to the President Rodrigo Duterte and this government. We are determined to ensure that our countrymen will come back safe and healthy. The DOH has implemented mechanisms to ensure a seamless repatriation process for our fellow Filipinos, our secretary said. Under the repatriation plan, DOH will screen and only allow the repatriation of overseas Filipinos who are negative for COVID-19. Overseas Filipinos negative for the coronavirus will be checked for signs and symptoms of respiratory illness, and only asymptomatic individuals will be allowed to disembark from the ship, take the bus to the airport, and board the aircraft back to the Philippines. While aboard the aircraft from Japan to Clark International Airport, regular monitoring will be done, and individuals who will manifest signs and symptoms of respiratory illness will be separated and isolated in one area of the aircraft. Upon landing and disembarkation, another screening will be conducted. Those who will manifest signs of respiratory illness during the flight will be immediately brought to an identified hospital for isolation and management, while those who were asymptomatic through the flight will be directly transferred to the quarantine facility at the New Clark City. During the 14-day quarantine procedure, 20 medical teams from DOH hospitals will man the quarantine facility to provide appropriate health services. Patients will be checked twice a day and provided with food and other basic provisions. We will ensure that infection control and quarantine protocols will be strictly followed by our kababayans and the health workers that will man the quarantine facility. DOH and its partners will be working doubly hard to ensure the safety and welfare of the quarantined patients as well as civilians in the vicinity, our Health Secretary concluded.
House Speaker Alan Peter Cayetano on Monday said the House of Representatives would hold a clearer and better organized hearing on the franchise renewal of broadcast giant ABS-CBN. In an ambush interview, Cayetano promised that the House hearing will be more organized and the issues will be clearer. He said all the pros and cons, management and viewers will be given an opportunity to be heard. Cayetano described the Senate hearing as a roll call for suck-ups to the broadcast network. He also stressed that a franchise bill shall exclusively originate from the House. According to the House leadership, the hearing proper on the franchise bills would begin either in May or in August. Senator Christopher Lawrence Bongo on Monday demanded impartiality from ABS-CBN as he denounced the alleged black propaganda aired by the network against then Davao City Mayor and now President Rodrigo Duterte. Go was referring to the negative advertisement which was paid for by then Vice Presidential candidate Antonio Trillanes IV. ABS-CBN, on the other hand, failed to air some of the campaign ads paid by Duterte during the campaign period. Go said the grievances of Duterte against the network are valid, saying the network should stay true to its slogan of serving the Filipino nation. Amid his appeal for impartiality, Go expressed his concern for ABS-CBN employees who could lose their jobs if its franchise will not be renewed after it expires this year. Motorcycle taxi company Joyride is set to join the country's food delivery space, throwing in a Filipino hat in the foreign-dominated food delivery ring. In the Philippines, where food delivery industry is dominated by popular Singaporean-owned companies Honest Bee and GrabFood, as well as Food Panda with headquarters in Germany, Joyride company will soon add a food delivery option in its mobile app. After its inclusion in the Department of Transportation's motorcycle taxi pilot program, Joyride became controversial for its apparent mysterious inclusion in the program and alleged ownership of the company by Senator Christopher Lawrence Bongo. In a press conference in January, the executives of the company clarified that the company's owners were Ralph Nubla Jr. and Bea Chua, both local prolific businessmen with no connection to Go. Noli Ayala, Joyride's Vice President for Corporate Affairs, said diversifying the company's services will provide more livelihood opportunities for its riders and partner businesses.
The Philippine Army in Surigao del Sur welcomed the surrender of 2 members of the Communist New People's Army or NPA on Sunday. In a statement on Monday, Captain Jonald Romorosa, Civil Military Operations Officer of the Army's 36th Infantry Battalion, identified the NPA members only as JR 32 and J 33, both residents of San Miguel Town and members of the Manobo tribe. Romorosa said the 2 NPA rebels surrendered at the 36 IB headquarters in Barangay Dayoan, Tago Municipality. JR, a combatant under the NPA's Guerrilla Front 19, turned over an M16 rifle and ammunition, while J, an assistant team leader of the rebels' militia unit, surrendered a .45 caliber pistol and ammunition. Romorosa said they voluntarily surrendered because they could no longer endure the hardships inside the communist movement. Lieutenant Colonel Jasril de Agmel, 36 IB commander, attributed the surrender to the support of the leaders of the Manobo tribe in the province. He added that the Army's development interventions in conflict-affected communities have also helped convince rebels to return to the fold of law. Moreover, Diagmel said the relentless military operations in the areas known to have NPA presence have also constrained the movements of the rebels. Diagmel said he hopes the NPA combatants in Surigao del Sur are now aware of the genuine offer of the government towards achieving peace and development. Diagmel urged the rebels to surrender and lay down their arms, return to the folds of the law, live in a normal and productive lives. The official also urged them to help the government to achieve a long and lasting peace that every peace-loving Surigaonons are longing for. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Laid Kabagani.
More towns are complaining about the spread of African swine fever as the disease affects more locally raised pigs in their respective provinces. More on this from Teresa Montemayor.
The African swine fever, or ASF virus, has reached one more town in Camarines Sur, bringing the number of ASF-affected municipalities in the province to 3. The Department of Agriculture on Monday said Magaro has been added to the towns of Bombon and Calambanga, which were earlier declared as ASF-affected areas. Calambanga and Magaro are both neighboring towns of Bombon, which is the ground zero for ASF in Camarines Sur. Meanwhile, 9 towns in Isabela are in lockdown due to the aggravated cases of ASF in some areas. Isabela Governor Rodolfo Albano III said he ordered the lockdown upon recommendation of the Provincial Veterinary Office to prevent further spread of the virus. They have identified the towns of Quezon, Quirino, Malig, Aurora, Rojas, Gamu, Cordon, and Jones as ASF-affected areas. On Saturday and Sunday, provincial officials met hog raisers to help them address their concerns and mitigate their losses. In Davao City, market vendors on Monday lamented over their shrinking daily sales following the confirmed cases of ASF there and in neighboring provinces. Eden Guira, president of the Federation of Public Vendors of Davao City, said daily sales have been dropping by as much as 50% since early this month. Meantime, meat vendors in the city get their supplies from commercial farms that are ASF-free and duly accredited by the Office of the City Veterinarian, the Bureau of Animal Industry, and the National Meat Inspection Service. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Teresa Montemayor.
Up next, Filipinos in Singapore are told to be careful following the first confirmed case of COVID-19. And the Pinoy Aquaman swims across Cebu Bay to promote sports and environmental protection. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders.
Speaker or guest of honor ay siya pong champion of freedom of information. Ang champion din po ng Presidential Task Force on Media Security para protektahan ang ating pong media. Sa pong media man, please welcome Secretary Martin Panelo.
We hope that both the documentary and the magazine will help enlighten everyone on the multi-dimensional approach the government is taking to address the problem of illegal drugs. This is not something that can be done by the government alone, nor with just a handful of agencies and civilian volunteers. It requires the participation of everyone. Let us begin by the support of the family, the neighborhood, the church, the media, combined with the government's effort until the whole of nation convergence for the care of one drug addict at a time, all the time.
Cebu has ruined so many people's lives, and it's very good that President Duterte is combating the spread of Cebu. It's impossible to save every drug addict, but I think what you can do is you can make a real difference, and I think that's what President Duterte is doing. Sadly, there's a lot of fake news, and this is something that's being combated, and I think it's very good that the PCOO is doing this roadshow, if you like. You know, there have been criticisms in the past that maybe people aren't doing enough to spread the real message.
Which gives access to all Filipinos to healthcare. First time that the government actually talked to them. Yeah, approached them and engaged them.
Filipinos in Singapore on Monday were urged to observe precautionary measures following the first confirmed case of COVID-19 involving a Filipino national in the city-state. The Department of Foreign Affairs advised Filipinos in Singapore to observe proper hygiene, avoid crowds or large gatherings, and frequently monitor personal health. Those who develop fever, cough, sore throat, and difficulty in breathing are also told to see a doctor immediately. The DFA said the Filipino who contracted COVID-19 is now isolated in one of Singapore's hospitals. The embassy is in close coordination with the Ministry of Health of Singapore and stands ready to provide all consular assistance to the patient as needed. Singapore has the third highest cases of COVID-19 outside China. As of Monday, there are over 78,000 confirmed cases of the disease globally. The death toll in China from the coronavirus outbreak has risen to 2,594. And in our foreign news, Malaysia's Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad has submitted his resignation to the King. Speculations are rife over what led to the resignation. Malaysia Kini, an online news portal, quoted an unnamed source saying the 94-year-old premier was fed up with the political maneuvering that transpired in the last 24 hours. Another unnamed source said Mahathir is resigning and quitting the ruling Alliance of Hope coalition in order to become the legitimate leader of a new coalition in the making. In the second case scenario, Mahathir would become the 8th Prime Minister of Malaysia. However, some observers say that the Malaysian king could also call for snap polls. The king has already accepted Mahathir's resignation. Starting May 15, motorized tricycles in the famous Boracay Island will be totally phased out. Malay Mayor Frolibar Bautista said on Monday, February 24, that tricycle drivers and operators have until March 15 to apply for the modernization program. This will give way for electronic tricycles to ply the streets as part of the local government's implementation of the Tricycle Modernization Program. The implementation of the program supposedly took effect last December 31st but was suspended after the onslaught of Typhoon Ursula. Bautista said almost 500 e-trikes are currently operational on the island, while 182 gasoline-run units are yet to convert to environment-friendly energy consumption. The swimmer locally known as the Pinoy Aquaman led a group that swam across the Zamboanga-Sibugay Bay. The swim aims to highlight the importance of marine conservation and the potentials of open water sports in the country. Ruth Abby Gita Carlos has this story.
After a 27-month hiatus, environmentalist and long-distance swimmer Ingemar Pinoy Aquaman Macarine swam across the Zamboanga-Sibugay Bay along with 12 others on Monday morning, February 24. Macarena returned into open water swimming and crossed the 2.7-kilometer crossing from Buluan Island to the shores of Buluan Village in Ipil Town. Macarena's original swim course was intended for him to cross the 3.5-kilometer distance from Buluan Island to Serendipity Isle but was cut short due to the shift of tide and safety of the other swimmers. Macarena admired the efforts of local leaders in preserving and protecting the marine environment in Buluan Island. No less than Philippine Sports Commission Commissioner Ramon Fernandez witnessed the successful crossings of Macarena and the other swimmers. The activity was organized as part of the series of activities in celebration of 19th founding anniversary of Zamboanga Sibugay as a separate province. It also served as a tribute to the late founding governor, George T. Hofer. The Sibugay Bay is the 35th crossing in his swim career that includes 17 marathon swim in and outside the country. He has been known for his long-distance, open-sea crossings to promote his environmental and water sports tourism advocacies. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Ruth Abby Gita Carlos.
Let's take another look at today's biggest stories. President Duterte urges Filipinos to do away with petty political differences in celebration of this year's EDSA Revolution anniversary. Speaker Alan Peter Cayetano says the House vows to hold a clearer and more organized hearing on the franchise of ABS-CBN. 9 towns in Isabela are placed on lockdown to prevent the spread of African swine fever. And Filipinos in Singapore are told to be careful following its first confirmed case of COVID-19. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. To check out more news content, check our webpage or head onto the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also, watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC13. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know from the PNA Newsroom. I am William Theo. Good day.